do. There is also a verse on this subject as follows: Men and women being of the same nature feel the same kind of pleasure, and therefore a man should marry such a woman as will love him ever afterwards. The pleasure of men and women being thus proved to be of the same kind, it follows that in regard to time there are 9 kinds of sexual intercourse, in the same way as there are 9 kinds according to the force of passion. There being thus 9 kinds of union with regard to dimensions, force of passion, and time, respectively, by making combinations of them, innumerable kinds of union would be produced. Therefore in each particular kind of sexual union, men should use such means as they may think suitable for the occasion. Footnote: This paragraph should be particularly noted, for it specially applies to married men and their wives. So many men utterly ignore the feelings of the women, and never pay the slightest attention to the passion of the latter. To understand the subject thoroughly, it is absolutely necessary to study it, and then a person will know that, as dough is prepared for baking, so must a woman be prepared for sexual intercourse, if she is to derive satisfaction from it. At the first time of sexual union the passion of the male is intense, and his time is short, but in subsequent unions on the same day the reverse of this is the case. With the female, however, it is the contrary, for at the first time her passion is weak, and then her time long, but on subsequent occasions on the same day, her passion is intense and her time short, until her passion is satisfied. On the different kinds of love. Men learned in the humanities are of opinion that love is of 4 kinds, viz., 1. Love acquired by continual habit. 2. Love resulting from the imagination. 3. Love resulting from belief. 4. Love resulting from the perception of external objects. 1. Love resulting from the constant and continual performance and habit, as for instance the love of sexual intercourse, the love of hunting, the love of drinking, the love of gambling, etc., etc. 2. Love which is felt for things to which we are not habituated, and which proceeds entirely from ideas, is called love resulting from imagination, as for instance that love which some men and women and eunuchs feel for the Aparishtaka or mouth congress, and that which is felt by all for such things as embracing, kissing, etc., etc. 3. The love which is mutual on both sides, and proved to be true, when each looks upon the other as his or her very own, such is called love resulting from belief by the learned. 4. The love resulting from the perception of eternal objects is quite evident and well known to the world, because the pleasure which it affords is superior to the pleasure of the other kinds of love, which exists only for its sake. What has been said in this chapter upon the subject of sexual union is sufficient for the learned, but for the edification of the ignorant, the same will now be treated of at length and in detail. Chapter 2. Of the Embrace. This part of the Kama Shastra, which treats of sexual union, is also called 64, Chatushshashti. Some old authors say that it is called so because it contains 64 chapters. Others are of opinion that the author of this part, being a person named Panchala, and the person who recited the part of the Rig Veda called Dashatapa, which contains 64 verses, being also called Panchala, the name 64 has been given to the part of the work in honor of the Rig Vedas. The followers of Babhravya say on the other hand that this part contains 8 subjects, viz., the embrace, kissing, scratching with the nails or fingers, biting, lying down, making various sounds, playing the part of a man, and the Aparishtaka, or mouth congress. Each of these subjects being of 8 kinds, and 8 multiplied by 8 being 64, this part is therefore named 64. But Vatsyayana affirms that as this part contains also the following subjects, that is, striking, crying, the acts of a man during congress, the various kinds of congress, and other subjects, the name 64 is given to it only accidentally. As, for instance, we say this tree is saptaparna, or seven-leaved, this offering of rice is panchavarna, or five-colored, but the tree has not seven leaves, neither has the rice five colors. However, the part 64 is now treated of, and the embrace, being the first subject, will now be considered. Now the embrace which indicates the mutual love of a man and woman who have come together is of four kinds, that is, touching, piercing, rubbing, and pressing. The action in each case is denoted by the meaning of the word which stands for it. 1. When a man under some pretext or other goes in front or alongside of a woman and touches her body with his own, it is called the touching embrace. 2. When a woman in a lonely place bends down, as if to pick up something, and pierces, as it were, a man sitting or standing, with her breasts, and the man in return takes hold of them, it is called a piercing embrace. The above two kinds of embrace take place only between persons who do not, as yet, speak freely with each other. 3. When two lovers are walking slowly together, either in the dark or in a place of public resort, or in a lonely place, and rub their bodies against each other, it is called a rubbing embrace. 4. When on the above occasion one of them presses the other's body forcibly against a wall or pillar, it is called a pressing embrace. These last two embraces are peculiar to those who know the intentions of each other. At the time of the meeting the four following kinds of embrace are used, that is, jata veshtitaka, or the twining of a creeper; vrikshadhirudhaka, or climbing a tree; tila tandulaka, or the mixture of sesamum seed with rice; kshiraniraka, or milk and water embrace. 1. When a woman, clinging to a man as a creeper twines round a tree, bends his head down to hers with the desire of kissing him, and slightly makes the sound of sut sut, embraces him, and looks lovingly towards him, it is called an embrace like the twining of a creeper. 2. When a woman, having placed one of her feet on the foot of her lover, and the other on one of his thighs, passes one of her arms round his back and the other on his shoulders, makes slightly the sounds of singing and cooing, and wishes, as it were, to climb up him in order to have a kiss, it is called an embrace like the climbing of a tree. These two kinds of embrace take place when the lover is standing. 3. When lovers lie on a bed, and embrace each other so closely that the arms and thighs of the one are encircled by the arms and thighs of the other, and are, as it were, rubbing up against them, this is called an embrace like the mixture of sesamum seed with rice. 4. When a man and a woman are very much in love with each other, and not thinking of any pain or hurt, embrace each other as if they were entering into each other's bodies, either while the woman is sitting on the lap of the man or in front of him, or on a bed, then it is called an embrace like a mixture of milk and water. These two kinds of embrace take place at the time of sexual union. Bhavya has thus related to us the above 8 kinds of embraces. Suvarnanabha, however, gives us 4 ways of embracing simple members of the body, which are the embrace of the thighs, the embrace of the jaghana, i.e., the part of the body from the navel downwards to the thighs, the embrace of the breasts, the embrace of the forehead. 1. When one of two lovers presses forcibly one or both of the thighs of the other between his or her own, it is called the embrace of thighs. 2. When a man presses the jaghana or middle part of the woman's body against his own, and mounts upon her to practice, either scratching with the nail or finger, or biting, or striking, or kissing, the hair of the woman being loose and flowing, it is called the embrace of the jaghana. 3. When a man places his breast between the breasts of a woman, and presses her with it, it is called the embrace of the breasts. 4. When either of the lovers touches the mouth, the eyes, and the forehead of the other with his or her own, it is called the embrace of the forehead. Some say that even shampooing is a kind of embrace, because there is a touching of bodies in it. But Vatsyayana thinks that shampooing is performed at a different time, and for a different purpose, and it is also of a different character. It cannot be said to be included in the embrace. There are also some verses on the subject as follows: "The whole subject of embracing is of such a nature that men who ask questions about it, or who hear about it, or who talk about it, acquire thereby a desire for enjoyment. Even those embraces that are not mentioned in the Kamasutra should be practiced at the time of sexual enjoyment, if they are in any way conducive to the increase of love or passion. The rules of the Shastra apply so long as the passion of man is middling, but when the wheel of love is once set in motion, then there is no Shastra and no order." End of chapter 2.